I, 31 female, am married to my husband, 35, together 10.5 years. We have no kids and live in our house with our elderly dog. We're both from a small city and a few years ago decided to move to a bigger city nearby. In recent years, close friends and family have started families and asked to come to stay with us when in a big city with their small kids. Our house isn't really kid-friendly. I childproof best I can to make it safe for guests. I prepare toys, snacks, Disney Plus and make it a friendly place. I generally enjoy spending time with the kids in my life. My husband's sister-in-law's youngest son, kindergartner, has severe behavioral issues. He's been kicked out of toddler daycares and is being diagnosed with ODD and ADHD. My sister-in-law comes over for day-long visits with her 3 kids and he's a huge challenge. He knocks furniture over, throws things around and he's broken several of my items. He snoops in every single room constantly, opens every drawer and cupboard to pull things out. My sister-in-law ignores it. I'm the one chasing him around trying to stop him. I'm so uncomfortable having my personal space invaded. I once found him snooping in our bedroom. He grabbed something very inappropriate from a drawer and was about to run into the main room with it when I grabbed it. I'm the only adult trying to stop him. Husband and sister-in-law do and say nothing. I tried setting boundaries for rooms that were off limits with my most personal items, but they were ignored. Also, my husband's best friend has a preschooler boy who is very disrespectful in our house. He insults us, screams at my dog, snoops around, wipes his nose on couch pillows, and his parents don't do a thing. I don't expect perfect behavior, I just want decent manners and respect in my home. Now, whenever these specific people ask to come to stay with us, I'm filled with anxiety and dread. During my sister-in-law's most recent visit, my husband allowed my nephew into an off-limits room, and he broke a little Lego item my friend's kid made me. Afterwards, I told him how I felt about it and that I was struggling with my discomfort. He was offended. Every time kids come over, you have a complaint. Kids will be kids, you need to lighten up. He said I was overreacting about the Lego and it wasn't a big deal. I said the point was that a boundary of mine had been ignored and an item was broken again. I explained that I have no problem with kids if they behave well. I mentioned the incident of my nephew handling a bedroom item. My husband said I shouldn't let it bother me and try to find it funny instead. I know a big part of his defensive reaction is because sister-in-law's family is the only real family he has. I understand that he's just trying to have a good time with them in his home without negativity. I want to mention I've always conveyed my concerns to him in a respectful and mature way. I still wonder if I'm actually the idiot here and maybe I'm being too negative when my husband is just trying to enjoy time with what little family he has left. Not the idiot and not negative enough. You're acting like, and he's treating you as, a doormat. The rules for somebody staying over should be 2 yes or 1 no. This is your home, not a hotel. You're entitled to a peaceful home and a husband that cares more about you than any other family and friends. You still wouldn't be the idiot if you decided that any children coming over were too many. Let him visit his sister-in-law in her home. I'd recommend going further. OP should leave the house when these destructive kids are around. That way, OP won't be horribly stressed out by nobody acting to get these kids in line because she won't see it. She'll be enjoying a much-needed spa day with girlfriends, and hubby and sister-in-law won't be able to rely on OP to step up in their stead. Any damages will be 100% on their shoulders. Hubby might feel very differently about the visit if he's the one hearing crashing sounds and knows he's the one who has to fix whatever it is. Disagree. With no one else watching them, too many things that matter to OP will be destroyed or turn up missing. OP, make it uncomfortable for them to be there. Don't have snacks, toys and Disney movies ready for the kids. Don't babysit, duct tape bathroom drawers, etc., etc. It's time for you to deliberately put something out that your husband cares for and let his nephew break it. If he doesn't respond to your exhaustion and desperation, he might respond to the tables being turned. Either way, absolutely not the idiot. Sounds like a nightmare. Liam, 23, is my husband's best friend and is someone I also consider a friend. Recently though, Liam and I have had a huge falling out and I'm starting to question if I was too harsh. Liam has had a massive crush on my best friend Olivia, 24 female, for over a year. Olivia recently went through a bad breakup with her long-term boyfriend, like he dumped her via text bad, and she was determined to move on fast. Liam basically begged me to set him up with her, saying he'd give anything to go on a date with her. I genuinely liked Liam and thought, why not? Olivia and I have been best friends since we were kids and I want her to be happy. So I talked to Olivia about opening herself up to dating again, and she was open to the idea. I suggested Liam start small, maybe hanging out as friends first and see where it goes. Liam agreed, asked Olivia out, and they made plans to meet for a movie on Saturday. Everything seemed great. Until Saturday. On the day of the date, Liam went to a sports game in the morning and got so intoxicated celebrating his team's win that he decided to take a nap at home before the date. Well, that nap turned into him completely sleeping through their plans. Olivia went to the theatre and waited 45 minutes before calling me, upset that he was a no-show. My husband and I rushed to the theatre with some other friends and we all watched the movie together so Olivia wouldn't feel stood up. Liam never showed. Afterwards, I called Liam to ask what happened and all he could say was, "I was tired." He didn't seem to grasp how upset Olivia was or how rude his actions were. He sent a lazy apology in our group chat. "Damn, I took a nap, I'm sorry, can we reschedule for tomorrow?" Olivia, understandably, was not having it. She's been ignoring him since, and I can't blame her. On the other hand, Liam has been acting like he's the victim here. He keeps telling me that it's not fair for Olivia to hold a grudge over one mistake, and that it's ridiculous for their year-long connection to be ruined because he just took a nap. He also thinks I'm being unfair because I told him point blank that I'm not helping him anymore. I won't mediate, fix things with Olivia, or set him up with anyone in the future. He's furious with me, claiming I'm being stubborn and unforgiving. My husband is stuck in the middle. He agrees that Liam was in the wrong and is supporting Olivia, but he's also trying to smooth things over with Liam since they're best friends. So, am I the idiot for refusing to help Liam anymore? I feel like he massively disrespected my best friend and I don't want to put Olivia in a position to be hurt again. But now I'm wondering if I overreacted by cutting him off completely from my help and being too harsh. LMAO, not the idiot. The absolute audacity of this man to play the victim when he hurt an already emotionally fragile woman by standing her up on the date because he was tired. Clearly, his crush wasn't strong enough, and he wouldn't do anything to get with her because he royally messed up this opportunity he had. And unable to prioritize. If a date with Olivia was so important, Liam should have concentrated on that rather than getting intoxicated. If you can't be on your best behavior for a date, number one, you won't be on your best behavior for any other moment in the relationship. Olivia does not need an immature child in her life. Opie already did their job by hooking him up in the first place. Opie shouldn't have to fix something he fumbled hard on. Let Liam fend for himself. It was never Opie's job to help set up a date. She was basically bullied into it with relentless whining from this entitled guy. And seeing as he claimed he would do anything to score a date, which I think is safe to assume he equated with rebound intimacy with Olivia, he sure didn't put forth much of any effort to prioritize his time with her. Opie, the guy is a loser. He has poor judgment and lacks any sense of responsibility. There is probably a reason a 23-year-old man needs you to hook him up instead of doing it himself. Over a year ago, my aunt's husband helped me get my current job. I'm not a fan of nepotism, but in my country, getting your first job is nearly impossible. You need experience, but without that first opportunity, how do you gain it? That's why we have a high unemployment rate among young people. Often you need someone with connections to help. I did my internship like any final year student. At first, I just made copies, took notes, brought coffee, ran errands, etc., until they moved me to a different department where my uncle-in-law had more influence. He started assigning me tasks related to my field, and eventually I got hired permanently. Some people gave me an attitude while others ignored me. Now my uncle is out of the country. No, I'm not in his position. I report to someone else, but ever since he left, it seems like there's a plan to make me quit. They take my parking spot, eat my lunch, exclude me from birthday cake celebrations, and plan loud social outings without inviting me. Not everyone is like this, but at least 4 out of a team of 10 are, and the rest just stay indifferent. I had a mini fridge under my desk, one of those tiny ones my sister used for skincare products. My lunch stopped disappearing, but then they started complaining that it was leaking, which was untrue. Then they said my food had strong smells and made the area stink, and finally they claimed the fridge was an unnecessary power expense for the office. My boss told me to get rid of it to avoid escalating the issue to HR. When I unplugged it, I overheard them joking outside that I didn't have my godfather anymore, referring to my uncle. I started leaving my lunch in the shared fridge again and they resumed stealing it. I was furious. HR only told me to label my food, so I did. The thief responded by taking my food out and leaving the label bag in the fridge. I spent days thinking of a way to teach them a lesson. I considered adding laxatives to my food, but after researching online, I saw a video where somebody did that and the thief ended up in the hospital and sued the person who did it. That discouraged me. While reading the comments on that video, someone suggested using cat food. I bought a can, but the smell was overpowering. My girlfriend suggested seasoning it to mask the smell, which worked like a charm. I added garlic, oregano, and fried onions. It smelled amazing. The first day I left the food, someone took it. I waited all afternoon for a reaction, but nothing happened. This went on for several days, and I got so good at preparing it that even I found it tempting. Then I thought, this doesn't make sense. I'm still feeding the thief. Why would anyone believe someone would keep leaving great lunches without ever noticing or complaining? I decided the thief needed to know what they were eating, but I didn't know who it was yet. I planned to leave a can of cat food inside the lunch. This time, I didn't cook or season it, I just poured it in. I also hid a baseball bat under my desk just in case. I wasn't sure who the thief was, and there were two muscular guys on the team, and I'm not exactly strong. Not long after lunch, the thief came storming over. I was stunned. It was the last person I'd expected. This guy had always told me, "Don't worry, they're just jealous of you because of your uncle." Sometimes he even chatted with me. He yelled that he would kill me for feeding him dog food. I told him it wasn't dog food, it was cat food. He tried to come at me, but someone intervened. In HR, he claimed that I'd never complained and that I'd given him permission. He came up with a string of excuses. I explained that my food had been disappearing and I'd switched to a more organic diet. HR told him not to eat anything of mine again and sent us back to work. The next day, he served me with a police summons for damaging his dignity and personal rights. HR called me in alone and told me to resolve the issue quietly because my actions were serious. I gathered all the receipts for the cat food I bought, the seasonings, and the time I spent preparing it, and handed the guy an invoice. I told him we could settle it if he reimbursed me for all the meals he'd stolen. He lost it and my boss happened to see the invoice. My boss started laughing and told him the deal was fair. However, some colleagues said dignity isn't something to be played with. Not the idiot. He's a lunch thief and he already has no dignity, and nothing you did caused him any actual harm. Heck, he didn't even notice until you made it obvious, so clearly that cat food was high quality enough that it was as good as what he normally eats. Dude needs to question his life choices in more ways than one. What a perfect revenge. I totally agree. Sometimes creative revenge is the only thing that gets the point across. I had vicious snoops. So I wrote in big purple letters on a piece of notepaper, "Screw you," and left it sitting up in a drawer. Oh, someone was angry. My boss's boss just looked at me that morning and had the biggest smirk I've ever seen. What could they do? Nothing. Still a feel-good moment for me. My wife, 33, and I, 30 male, have had some issues in our marriage, and I've reached the point of feeling like enough is enough. We've been married for 7 years and our son is a toddler. When my wife learned she was pregnant, she decided to wait to tell me so she could surprise me. She had told her friends and family by the time she told me. Her family took me finding out after everyone else as her being afraid to tell me and called me on it. She didn't defend me, but claimed she did it when I was out of the room. Later in her pregnancy, when we talked about baby names, she mentioned that she no longer wanted to use the original name we'd agreed on because her sister didn't like the name. She told me we were not discussing names with anyone, so I asked why she'd told her sister, and she said she wanted some opinions. I told her we liked it. Then I asked if she didn't anymore, and she said she still did, but she wanted her sister to like the name. Then she said her sister's opinion was too important, and I asked if her sister's opinion was more important than mine. She said no, but then she tried to push for a name her sister loved that my wife knew I hated. It left me feeling less important again. I know she was the one carrying our son, she was going through all the changes in her body, etc., but it made me sad that not only did she tell her friends and family she was pregnant first, but she also wanted her sister's opinion more than mine. When our son was a young toddler, he was taken to hospital. My wife was home with him and I worked from the office that day. My wife called her family before she called me, and when I got to the hospital, her parents were angry at me for not being there sooner. And then they said I was clearly very uninvolved when my wife called them first. I admit I was more angry this time than sad, and I told my wife she called 8 other people before me, our son's father. We talked about it some, but our son was the focus. My wife and I decided before that we wouldn't sign up our son for football unless he asked us to, and he was older and safe. We both agreed that the injuries sustained in football are a concern. All those brain injuries were something we were on the same page about. But a couple of weeks ago, she told me she had his name down to start in another year. She did this without saying anything because her parents believed it was important that boys play football. This brought the hospital incident back more than anything, and I told her it felt like she'd prefer being a single mom since it seemed so easy to cut me out or dismiss my opinion. She told me I was being unfair, and she said I sounded ready to divorce her, which was crazy. I didn't deny it, and she told me I couldn't ruin our family over small disagreements. I reminded her she called 8 people when our son was taken to the hospital before me. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She values her family's opinion over your own. Sounds like she would have a good support system as a single mom. Ironically, this may give you more say in your son's life when he's with you during your weekends post-divorce. Honestly, unless the wife goes low contact with her sister and parents, no amount of couples therapy is going to matter. Forget weekends, go for 100%. The fact she signed up a toddler for football proves she is mentally incompetent and unable to raise a child, and her family sounds the same. They enable her because they produce this odd gaslighting existence OP's wife leads. OP is not the idiot as long as he realizes he's the only chance his son has for some normality.